Happy Saturday, Written Undead World! Welcome back to another edition of the Written Undead Podcast. I am Jack Childress, and as always, I'm joined by my partners in crime, Richard Ryan Rose and Angel Ramon. Not sure where Jennifer Amato is. She's a little incognito today. So, in her stead, we went ahead and found us another sexy woman to bring on. And we have Dungeondan in her place.
Nice.
So,
you
this
missed
week,
the memo there.
Maybe.
Yep,
We still got our eye candy for the show.
For the first time in many, many weeks, I am actually a nervous wreck right now because we have one of my favorite authors on who has written 3 books that I absolutely adore. I have listened to them repeatedly because they're so darn good. The one and only Carl Meadows, author of the Loki versus the Apocalypse series, which is set in Chris Philbrook's Adrian's Undead Diary universe. He may or may not be jumping on with us for a few minutes today. We shall see. So, Carl, welcome to the show, my brother. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks. Good. Thanks for having me.
Man, glad to have you here. Now, let me ask you something. Let's get it started off in the most obvious of places. How did you come to wind up writing in the Adrian's Undead universe? How did that happen?
Well, naturally, as you'd expect, I'm a massive reader and fan of Chris's series. So I started off as a reader. Now, if you know anything about Chris, you know that he's done multiple anthologies set within the world where he's allowed readers to actually write fiction and send them in, things like Unhappy Endings, Only the Light We Make, etc., just to kind of expand that Adrian universe a little. Mm-hmm. So when he announced Dead Lucky back in, and I think he announced it sort of end of 19, beginning of 20, I thought, I'm going to submit, which I did. Because at the time, I've got other things that I'm writing, and I was looking to pick up writing credits because I was going to be looking for traditional publishing for the epic fantasy that I was writing, and I was just trying to rack up some writing credits, get my name against something. I got a commendation in the Manchester Fiction Prize in 2019, which is like an international short fiction competition.
Nice.
So commendation. There's only 6 that get to like the short list, the actual final. So the commendation is basically the semi-finalists. But it was, that was a big, it's a internationally recognized competition. So the going in for Dead Lucky was a chance to add something to the AUD world, but also to get myself some extra writing credits to show any kind of agent or publisher that I'm serious about this. I'm not playing at it.
Right.
So initially, I just submitted that story. Jack's disappeared again. Oh, there he is again.
Yep, I do that. I do
in
that.
and out really fast there.
Yeah, some days it's worse than others.
So I wrote a story originally for it, which is the section where Erin and Nate find Particles, the outraged, judgmental pug.
I love that dog.
Yeah, because the whole, obviously, theme of story of Dead Lucky was luck was the theme, so it was Erin's lucky pug. So the first part of it, where she's on her own and she's a bit hyperactive through the school and her first escape and where she meets Nate, I'd actually written probably about 2 years before because I'd done it to write myself out of a slump in the fantasy that I was writing. I was like, I just need to keep the creative juices flowing. And I wrote Lucky into Adrian's world because I knew that setting really well. And I just thought because it was he originally.
Oh,
I'll come to that. So I sent the particle story to Chris and he was like, love it straight away. And I said, well, the reason why it says he's talking about an 8th entry is because I wrote this bit. So he said, oh, let me have a look at that. So I sent that in as well. So rather than an 8,000 short story, 8,000 word short story, I ended up having about 20,000 words of that anthology because they split it into 2 parts. Now, where Erin became Erin and not Aaron, male name, it was actually Chris. So when he bounced it back to me, he said, I love this story, but I read it kind of in 2 ways. The first time I read it, as you've written it, which is absolutely fine. He says the second time I read it as if Lockie was like a snarky young woman. The minute he said it, I found myself nodding along to it. I was like, you know what? That's actually a pretty good idea. I floated the idea past my 2 test readers, Mike and Joe, as well, and they were like, I actually really like that. I don't hate that. So when I changed it to female, and it was going through the rigmarole of going into Dead Lucky, it was the moment where it was Erin became Erin and became female. that the rest of the story of what will become No More Heroes just took shape in my head. You know, the next part when they get into the yoga lodge and then the running battle with Bancroft's crew, as that all develops. And I ended up writing what would be No More Heroes, the rest of it, in about 5 weeks. And because I'd done it, because I had that idea, I just kind of went, I just sent it to Chris and went, I can't do anything with this, but it might give you a giggle because it's set in your, it's set in your world. So you should at least read it. A couple of weeks later, he came back to me and went, yeah, this is really good. I think we should publish it.
It's like, surprise.
I was staring at my phone on the text for a moment, like, I'm sorry, what?
Pardon me?
Really? You really think it's good? Wow.
I'm sorry, Chris, we should what? And he said, yeah. I think my readers will dig it. It fits really well. It's all within the confines of the AUD verse. And then the conversations went on, and we put a contract together for 3 books, and here we are. So after that, I kind of just punted the idea for the trilogy that I had to, which was the Torchbearer concept, because obviously the Trinity was taken for his main series. We Will Rise, the second book, I wrote in 15 days. That's a 90,000 word book.
Wow.
That one.
There we go. There goes to him.
You wrote that in 15 days?
Yeah, well, it was obviously during COVID, during 2020, so there was a lot with lockdown. And in my day job, in my work, we were working from home, but there was also times, because there was a lot of uncertainty in that early 2020, that there were some furloughs here in the UK. So you were being paid, but not to be in, basically. You were on a reduced salary. And I had a 3-week furlough. So I basically had no work to do. I was stuck at home because it was locked down. And so I wrote 8 hours a day for 15 days. And We Will Rise was born. And I sent it to Chris. And he was like, dude, we haven't even sorted the first one out yet. I'm not ready for this. And then
overachiever.
When I get an idea, I go all in. And when that idea is there, the writers among you will know when it's there and it's sitting there and it's whittering away in your ear, you've got to get it down or you're going to lose it. I've got a memo pad on my phone and Excel spreadsheets and Word documents full of crap that's come into my head. I've got to get that down. And then once the ideas are down, it's like, oh shit, I've got to write that or I'm going to lose it. I've got this great idea. So The Devil's Due, the third book, which is what, just under 100,000 words. I think it's just over about 103,000. I wrote that in about 5 weeks, 6 weeks as well, because the ideas were just there. I just had to do it. So even though The Devil's Due didn't release until December 21, it was written by September.
Wow!
Basically, the whole 3 books of about 300,000 words. Had a total writing time of maybe 10 weeks, 11 weeks.
That's amazing.
Well, I'm going to make sure, because I was able to show the first 2 books because, they're down here. The first book is back here, hanging on the wall, but I want everyone to see this cover. That tells you everything you need to know about Lockie.
I love the covers. I've got to say, the guy that does the covers is the same guy, obviously, that Chris used for the AUD covers, Alan McRaffen.
And you can tell it. Like because normally I have those 2 books up towards the top of my wall. And when you look at them side by side, if you were to just take y'all's names off of the books, you would just assume that this book goes right in to this book.
That was important because it's branding. Right. It's branding, That's why, the font on the covers is the same as the AUD ones. We made sure to put Chris's name on the front with the edited by Chris Philbrook, so anybody who was coming to it could see that, somebody's not just like yanking your chain here. The Chris has actually seen this and approved it.
Yes.
It's kind of important. It needs his endorsement. It's his intellectual property that's his sandbox that I'm just playing in. But yeah, that's kind of how it all come about. And then obviously the first book in June last year, June 21, went and won an audiobook award.
I can totally see why. I can totally see why.
Won the apocalyptic category of the 2021 Independent Audiobook Awards. I mean, we were just made up it got to the 5 finalists, but when they did the online thing, it was like 1 a.m. over here in the UK. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. I was like, oh my God, we've won. I had to go in work the next day on the Saturday morning to do the half-year inventory count, and I went in with no sleep, wired as hell.
So now, have you been nominated for any other awards and any other, with anything else you've ever written?
No. So these three are the only I've actually published this year. Kind of. I mean, I've spoke to you privately about it, Jack. This year kind of got derailed for me a little bit with health stuff, which I'm not going to go into on a public forum. But I've had 2 major surgeries and a minor one this year, and that's been running between sort of end of Jan right up until sort of September. So this year has been a bit of a write-off, in truth. Yeah. I've done a little bit of writing. I mean, there's an anthology that Jen was published in recently that came from hell. There's one of mine in there as well, because I just threw that together because I just needed to get back into the routine of writing because I've been not doing it for so long.
I feel you, man. Yeah,
lying flat.
I hear you.
But yeah, so hopefully I'm planning on 23 being a more back on the release train and doing some other stuff. I've got 4 other books in an epic fantasy series that I've already written, and each of them are about 140,000 words.
And what are the names? What's the title for the series of those?
The Radiance. So it's the Radiance is kind of a name for magic itself. It's a very large, sprawling, magical, political epic fantasy, and very military focused as well. A lot of it's almost like an alternate Earth in some way, because a lot of the nations and whatnot are taken from kind of the classical era and just morphed. So you'd recognize the Norse, you'd recognize sort of a Greco-Roman culture, you'd recognize a Gallic one.
Oh, nice.
A lot of it is because history is quite a passion of mine. You can't see it there on those books. All those bottom shelf books they're all on classical warfare, Roman Empire, ancient Greece, medieval Norse.
Got me thinking there, Angel. I think we may have a guest for the Angelus Maximus podcast here.
Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we today's subject we were. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask Carl. But when did you get into ancient warfare history? How did you get into it?
All my life since I was a kid. I've just been fascinated with it.
Just like me.
Fascinated with it.
All right. Sweet.
Yeah, I've been.
Yeah, we got to get
most of the stuff that I read outside of fantasy and sci-fi would be historical fiction.
Nice, man. That's what's up. Have you? Now I have to ask you, Carl. Are you big on real-time strategy PC games?
Yep. Total War Rome was my go-to.
Yes.
That was the game that somebody looked into my head and went, "That's a game for him."
Yep. Yep. I'm still playing it right now with mods and all that. Yeah, I can never stop playing it. So, yeah, we definitely got to get you on the Angelus Maximus podcast one day. We got plenty to talk about.
Yeah, and today's topic was the Goths and their influence on Rome back then, back in those days. And we've discussed Hannibal in the past. We've discussed, war tactics in the past. I mean, we focus a lot on Roman history, Greek.
Yeah, man.
Military tactics, classical military tactics is basically like.
And even Dungeondan brought his humor into it too. So it's
you don't want me on that show.
We'd be lost without you, Dan.
I'm really behaving on this.
But yeah, man. Yeah, wonderful, Carl. That's awesome, man. That's what's up.
Heck yeah, no doubt. Now
that's going to be your next project, writing wise. That your historical fiction.
No, but it's fantasy is always my first love. I grew up reading David Gemmell, who's my favorite author ever. Raymond D. Feist, all the classics like Magician and the Rift War trilogy and the Empire trilogy. That was my staple, but also I read a lot of historical fiction like Bernard Cornwell, Ben Kane. His Hannibal series is fantastic. You should read that.
Yeah.
Simon Scarrow, his early sort of Eagle series, based about two centurions in sort of early Imperial Rome.
Yep.
All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But historical fiction isn't something there's always a huge historical influence on the fantasy that I write.
Right.
So, like I say, in the fantasy that I've written, there's a very Greco-Roman feel to the main nation, that where it's centralized.
I totally get you.
There's obvious Norse and ancient Celt and Britain and Gaulish influences.
Nice.
That if you know history and you see them, you'll see where I've taken one of the major battles in there is basically taken from the Battle of Watling Street between Boudicca and Paulinus on actual Britain. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, Carl, are any of those available on Audible?
They are unpublished at the moment. There's 4 of them written. I kind of put the pause button on them when the Lockie thing popped up. Because, you know, when somebody comes along and says, hey, do you want to write 3 books in one of your favorite series ever? You're going to go, yeah, well, hold that lot can go over there.
Yep, you go over there. Yeah.
Crack the knuckles. Sign me up, baby.
Mike Jack is going to be writing a story in my universe, too. So I'm excited for that. Yeah.
Yep. Now, Richard, obviously, your big man crush is Chris Philbrook. Now,
we've heard this.
There's no secret about this. There's no secret about this.
Should Chris be checking out of his windows to make sure there's nobody standing under a street light or anything?
Yes. Anyway,
I think you're on
Richard,
mute, Rich.
Have you had a chance to check out Lockie versus the Apocalypse yet? Oh, we can't hear you, Rich.
Rich, you're muted.
Ooh, drum roll. This is tense.
Yep. He may have to do like I did. Unplug and plug back in.
Oh, there we go.
Nope.
Still nothing, buddy.
You gone bye-bye.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Now we can hear you.
Now we hear you.
All right. So what was the question?
Have you had a chance to check out Lockie versus the Apocalypse?
It is on my it is next in line for my next listen.
Well, I'm telling you, when you get into that and you hear his narrator, and she's, oh, bloody hell, Nate, what do you think we're going to get to? There's freaking zombies everywhere.
You had to go there, didn't you? I was expecting it at some point, Jack. I was expecting that. Hello, Mary Poppins.
Hello, Mary Poppins.
We told you the same thing. You sound like Dick Van Dyke trying to be British.
Hell, I look like him, except with a beard.
Yeah, Jack learned from Dungeondan how to be, that way. Yeah, the Dungeondan is rubbing off on Jack.
See, everyone knows, Dan. Everyone knows that it's not me, it's you. Everyone knows.
I'm still going to plead innocent.
Yeah, he's going to plead the fifth. He's going to plead the fifth.
Looking forward to getting into the spinoff series, though. Big AUD fan, so I've heard nothing but great things about your books, Carl. So I'm really looking forward to getting into it.
You're a big fan of Chris's as well. Obviously, recently AUD 13 Ghost is released, and Lockie's in there, so it gives you a bit of context of who she is and why they are where they are at that time. Because there was about 10,000 words of that book. Is one of the side fictions. You know, the side fiction setup that Chris has, where he has the journal entries separated by the side fictions. There's a side fiction within Ghost called "Bring Me That Horizon," which I wrote, which was from Lockie's point of view when Adrian and Lockie first meet, which was a massive responsibility, by the way. Fancy being told, can you write the first meeting between these two guys? You want me to write Adrian Abbey? Are you sure about this?
You must have been pulling your hair out.
You nailed it, though. Yeah. You nailed that. And I'm talking.
The thing is, though, I've been reading. I found I was quite lucky, right? When the way Chris wrote AUD and released it on the website initially, before I think it was 2014 when it was eventually published in print format for the first time. But he obviously wrote it in real time between 2010 and 2012, which is why all the journal entries are dated as they are. Now, I was quite fortunate because when I found it on the web, it was about a month after it had finished. So I didn't have the waits between journal entries. So I found it and was like, oh, shit, what's this? And I was printing it out and taking it to work with me and reading it on my breaks and reading it on my dinner and on my lunch. And I just plowed through it. So, I've always been a fan of the series, and I think Chris and I are very similar in many ways. Sense of humor very similarly, morality and the way we think is very similar. So I could see what he was going for with Adrian's Undead Diary. It wasn't just your usual virus Zompok.
It was different.
Same old.
Big time different.
That's why we all loved it so much.
And that's the thing, because I'm a big fantasy reader, right? I mean, first of all, I was caught up because it was great, because Adrian's such a likable character and Chris has got a very genuine way of writing. But then when you first see the tap, 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 and you go, whoa,
yeah,
that's not a normal zombie thing. That's not a virus. And then you get to what is now book 3, Midnight, and you get the reveal of what it's all happened. I was all in then. It's like, this is like a dark fantasy now. This is my wheelhouse.
Now it's
because I don't read in the Zompok genre. I don't read in it generally.
I'm all in it.
Yeah, and that's fine. You love what you love.
Yeah.
But I find a lot of them quite samey because it's always just variations on virus, and that's why
I hear
because it was completely different, and it wasn't just bouncing from misery to disaster to disaster. There was a purpose to it, and there was an agency behind the zombies, and there was more to it.
Right. It's funny you mentioned that, Carl, because I read not a zombie. That's why I started writing historical fiction, because that's my true mode. It's my duo, like historical fiction and all that. So, I do read zombie fiction, but none of them do tend to be just a similar thing over and over. So I totally understand that. Although Richard's story really got me back into the zombie genre with his Sasquatch and all that. So
I'm actually halfway through reading that on my Kindle.
Oh,
yeah. Are you loving it?
Awesome.
How you liking it?
Yeah, it's terrible. I'm joking.
But Richard might say, "Oh,
if you're going to set it up, I'm going to
said he liked it. Okay, that's all that matters."
Well, that's it, because Chris put that review on it. I thought, and I obviously you've seen me commenting on this show many weeks. I'm usually in and around the place.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought,
and we love it.
Give it a go.
Well, now,
it's good. It's different, and I like different.
Once you get through the first one, you've got to jump on the prequel if you really do enjoy the first one, because somebody you might recognize is in it. So
you get everywhere in a minute.
Somebody else too, by the way.
Yep. Somebody else
Angel's on there for a hot minute.
Yeah,
isn't he? Just pouring himself out everywhere. Put me in your book. Put me in your book like one of your French girls.
I'm trying to get a new category put into the Guinness Book of World Records. Most appearances in various books.
For me, it's most times dead in a book. For me,
he's got that covered. He's absolutely got that covered.
Poor
Angel in one series, no less.
In one series, Angel is just murdered time
over
after
and over again.
Jeff, you don't worry. I'll get you revenge I'll get my revenge one day.
Well, Richard, your books were something different, and Jack is the one that turned me on to those. And I kept telling Jack, he's like, okay, Sasquatch, that's cool, but I'm zombies. And he goes, nah, dude, not only are there zombies, these are like really disgusting. So I said, okay. I went on, bought the first book, and I'm like, shit, I'm hooked. I'm like 3 chapters in. I'm like, okay, I'm going to finish. So when's 3 coming out, Richard? You're killing me.
Yeah, I'm shooting for next month for December release.
All right. So
Can't
Carl,
wait.
If you got the call from Chris Philbrook saying, hey, I need you back in the sandbox, would you jump?
4th one's written.
Mm-hmm.
And about
big reveal.
No, there's no set release for it yet, and it's not. I think at the end of the day, right? It's the 4th one is only written because I had, like I said before, I had the idea and I had to write it. Because I had to see when he gave me the call to say, "What I'd like you to write something for AUD 13, and we'll cross the characters over. We're not doing them justice if we don't actually cross the series over because Adrian's in England and he's going to be in that area." I had to kind of move my head forward and go, "Well, this is 3.5 years on from the end of The Devil's Due. What has happened in that time between where The Devil's Due finishes in like March, April 2011?" Because Adrian's not in England till like December 2014. So there's a huge time jump. So for you to write where they are at that point, you kind of know how to have to work out what's happened in that 3.5 years subsequently between the end of Loki 3 and where they meet in AUD 13. So after I'd kind of worked out that timeline, I was like, I kind of want to write that now. And I just sat down and started doing it, and 95,000 words later, book 4 was written. And I was like, now I'm excited. It's a cliffhanger, and I've got to carry on writing that. So I'm 20,000 words into a fifth. But that's it's still got to be, at the end of the day, it's a numbers game, right? Because obviously that is it's you know yourself, it's not cheap to get out a book, especially an audio book. Danielle is a well-paid narrator for a reason. If you've listened to the book, she's exceptionally good. She doesn't even use ACX anymore. She just pretty much gets cast by Podium Audio, Tantor Audio, Dreamscape. Wow. You know,
that's good.
We're actually getting Danielle was actually probably a piece of providence, and it was pure luck, right place, right time, right book, because she hadn't used ACX for months and months and months, and she just jumped onto it to kind of, I wonder what's around there. So, zombie apocalypse, character from the north of England, Liverpool. Now, Danielle's grandparents, I think it was, were from Liverpool, so she's familiar with the accent. She put in her audition, and at the time when we were getting the audition, Chris had sent me about 25 like 3-minute auditions from the audition piece that we put in. And some of them were okay, but they didn't set you on fire. Some of them were comical. It's probably the best, and completely missed the brief. Completely missed the brief. And I was, after a week and a half of getting all of these in, I was like, I don't. You know what it's like if you don't get the right narrator for a book, it can ruin it. Right? You can have written the best book in the world, but if you've got a mechanical, dry-voiced, no feeling narrator, people will just switch off. If it sounds like it's being
very true.
read by Alexa, people will just switch off. I consume my reading by audio because I'm too busy to sit down. And if I start reading, I usually just kind of fall asleep.
Not off.
Yeah, and I'll listen to an audio book while I'm commuting to work, back and forth. I'll listen to it while I'm cleaning. I'll listen to it while I'm cooking. While I'm multitasking, I can still consume it. A bad narrator destroys a book.
Yep.
A really good narrator elevates it, it enhances it, and makes that book better.
Been saying that forever.
It does. There's something me and my friend say that if you have a 5-star book with a 5-star narrator, it's a 6-star experience for the listener.
Yep.
It's the best of both worlds. If it's good writing and it's a really good narrator who's really good at characterization and really good at injecting that emotion, that emotion, then it's a completely different experience, which is what it was like, when you first heard the AUD books with Foster before Chris was enforced into a change.
And that sucks so bad. I mean, the new one is okay, but it's not the same.
There's nothing. Yeah. It was completely out of Chris's control. James chose to leave the series and wasn't coming back, and what can you do?
Yeah,
it's a simple.
It's a shame, though.
It is a shame, but it is what it is. But when Danielle's came, immediately I was like, hello. This is different. And we had 2 audition pieces. So one was just to test the interaction between Lockie and Nate, because they're the 2 main characters, and obviously you've got to hear Lockie and that interaction in a journal entry. And the other one was more of a kind of an emotive horror piece to see the other side of Erin, which was, if you've read the first book, the door number 9 with the pregnant couple.
Oh God!
It horrifies Erin beyond words, and really goes, this is bad shit going on.
Yes.
So it was a piece of that, and she did a cold read of that without any context of what came before the character. And as soon as I heard it, I said to Chris, "Sign her up. That's it. She's the one. That's it. She nailed it."
Now, will she still be available? Will she still be available for 4, 5, and hopefully 8, 9, and 10?
I'm sure she would. She really enjoyed doing it. She's lovely to work with, Danielle. She's cool. Really great. Every time a new book was coming out, we'd have an hour-long conversation, you know, because she'd want to check pronunciation or she's so professional and so thorough. She does a full pre-read and comes to you with notes before even starting recording, so she knows where she's at. But for 40 minutes of that hour conversation, it's just two English people having a natter. she's originally, although she lives in Vermont now, she's actually from Manchester originally, which is only a stone's throw because I work near Manchester anyway. You know, it's just, so she's from the same kind of area. So we're just talk shit for 40 minutes and then go, oh yeah, book.
Yeah, might want to talk about the book. Yeah, let's do that.
Let's talk about the book now. Yes, let's sort that pronunciation out. But yeah, she's brilliant. Super professional, nails it on time. Can't say enough good things about her. And you've heard the quality of her work. It friggin' wins awards. So
yes, it does. And
what can you say?
Okay, well, real quick, let me look over here. Look over here. Okay, y'all don't see Chris lurking anywhere, right? Because I got to say something.
He's behind you.
Yeah, he is. Actually, technically, he is. Lockie is my favorite character in the entire AUD universe.
Really?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes,
would have been
I absolutely. Oh no, go ahead, Dan.
I was going to say it would have been a little. You just told me to go ahead.
I know.
Go ahead, Jack.
No, I was just going to say it's something about, like you said, with Danielle, the way she brings that character to life. That I crave that voice, that sound, just the way she is, the way she acts. Adrian's awesome, and I love Adrian. I put him right up there with Mike Talbot. You know, Gunny from the David Simpson's Zombie Road series. I mean, I put right there, but she brings this extra little thing to the show that the men just didn't bring. I mean, she's feisty, and I love it.
I think that was kind of important as well to the series because you'd already had that dynamic with Adrian and Abby in the original series, where Adrian is the main character, is the big brother figure to Abby and teaches her to survive. And then as she gets more and more competent, you realize, well, actually, this 17, 18-year-old girl is an absolute fucking badass.
Yes.
You know, now that she's been given the tools to work, she's got, like, you know, steel in her spine. This kid is fire. And it was important when doing, because obviously we had to keep to the same format. You still had to be journal entries, still had to have the side fictions. It couldn't be just a carbon copy of AUD. Otherwise, it's just, all I'd ever get was like, oh, it's just a mimic. He's just trying to be Chris. Which, you know, is not the case. And I think having Erin as the one who was learning off Nate, but being the main character, but who hasn't got all the skills to survive, and she actually needs Nate. And she's I think it's described in the books as she's kind of, they make such a good team because she's like the wild, ideological, enthusiastic, you know, lives with a heart on her sleeve, comes up with crazy plans because she wants to help everyone because she's got a stupid hero complex. And Nate's the sensible head that goes, oh shit, I better make this work then. You're going to do this anyway.
Right.
I'll have to make this work. And he's got all of the skills to do it. But by the same token, she's good for him because she brings him out of a shell that he's been stuck in for so long. So I think it worked. Having that kind of surrogate father-daughter was different enough to the brother-sister of Adrian and Abby, while still giving that kind of familiarity and homage to the original series that people familiar with the original AUD would be comfortable with. It's the same kind of dynamic, but it's different enough, and the lead is female, not male, so it's completely different point of view. Jack's frozen, screaming into the abyss somewhere now. Screaming into the abyss, shouting at his internet provider.
Shouting, saying, why do I have to go through this? Why?
He's back again.
Yeah, it's. I've been kind of keeping count of them here. This is kind of.
There's going to be some sharply worded emails.
No, this
write
is
them
more
for
like
you if you want. Like we Brits are really good at sharply worded emails and letters.
Well, I've actually had Comcast out here, and they pretty much finally just threw their hands up in the air and said, "Dude, you're just in a spot where you picture your signals coming in, it's coming in, and then for just that, it goes wop up, and that's all it takes, and then it has to reboot itself and start all over again. They got my TV to quit pixelating, so at least there's that. But this is why we're switching to Zoom in the near future, because I never have issues with Zoom. It always works.
Chris and I used this not so long ago for the pre-Ghosts And this StreamYard was fine for us for 2 solid hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, I'm just kind of in a dead spot here in the little area that I'm at. So, and I've literally, no joke, I have literally done shows in the past where I went to the living room and sat right beside the modem. Didn't help. Didn't help.
Did you hardwire it?
Well, it's on a tablet. I can't hardwire it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's kind of an issue too. I guess eventually I'll win the lottery and I'll buy an actual computer.
But if you're right next to the modem, Jack, you shouldn't be having problems, period. Nope. Because I'm right next to my modem and I'm running perfect.
Well, he said the picture it like a laser beam. You got a laser going across somewhere, and then every now and then, just out of the blue, something will wave in front of it, and it's just that quick. But that's all it takes to break that connection just for a moment, and that's when I get the little freezies, which is why sometimes I'll go 45 minutes like we did with Angel's show today. I froze one time during the entire hour, and it was right towards the end, and then it was fine again, and now today it's been like bang, bang. I mean, it froze on me within the first 3 minutes.
Yep.
Crazy. Anyway, back to the show.
Yep.
And now you've got that off your chest, and you've purged yourself of all that frustration and rage.
Yeah, bloody hell.
Again.
The curse of cable television.
Yes. So now, Richard, won't you jump in on this action a little bit here? Now, because I'm kind of curious, since you're just now getting ready to get into the Loki universe. Do you have any expectations for it? Is there anything you're looking for, or anything you're worried that he may have corrupted in the universe?
Well,
thanks, Jack.
I guess
put you under the spot there, Rich.
We ask the hard-hitting questions around here.
Right. Well, one thing I was curious about, I figured was probably going to be inevitable, and you pretty much answered that already, is if the two stories were going to collide at any certain point, especially with Adrian, heading over to Europe. I figured there's going to be some kind of, collaboration at least at some point in time. So I'm anxious to see that. I've gotten through book 9 of Adrian's Undead Diary series, so I need to get caught up on.
You're way back then, yeah. You're just starting the second arc then, yeah. There's a lot to go. Don't want to do any spoilers then.
Okay,
you obviously know he's going to be in England now.
Right.
Damn,
it's called Adrian's March, so I guess it's in the title a little.
Well, hell, I guess maybe I'm more obsessed than I thought, because Richard is the one that introduced me to Adrian's Undead Diary. So I hadn't read anything. I didn't know anything about it other than just seeing it posted on Facebook at times. And I am current, mister.
Oh, wow.
That's right.
Look at the other side of that coin. Richard's got so much coming his way right now, and we're stuck waiting.
True.
Sorry.
True.
I'm trying to retire from the military and shit. There's a little bit that goes with all that.
A little busy.
Yeah.
Excuses.
Yeah. A rough crowd here.
Oh, tell me about it. Gotta deal with these certain knuckleheads all the time.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I mean, that crossover, Rich, was. I mean, it was something we didn't plan for it initially when Loki was kind of signed off and we were going to do it. But I think we always both had a view of it could be. It was written as a story entirely separate because obviously it's the other side of the pond. So while Adrian's, it's parallel as well. So Loki starts pretty much a few days after that day, 23rd of June 2010. She starts recording, whereas in AUD, Adrian doesn't start recording until September, even though it started in June. And he jumps in the first book. He jumps around as he remembers things and tells you anecdotes. Erin's is real time in that she's writing 2 or 3 days after it's all gone to hell in a handbasket, and she's like, "What the fuck is going on? I'm hiding in school. What idiot hides in a high school?" Which was just a little hat tip to AUD at the beginning. It's quite funny when you see some some reviews, because thankfully I don't have many bad reviews. There's only a couple, and I don't take any notice of them because they're clearly just people who want to watch the world burn. There's nothing constructive in them. They're like, I don't like this, and I'm going to tell you I don't like it in as many nasty words as I can. I had one guy who openly admitted he'd only listened to 3 hours of the 12-hour audio book, and then went and wrote 2 different reviews on 2 different platforms like Goodreads and Amazon, which were completely different, moaning about how terrible it was. Like, God, you could have finished the audiobook in the time that you've been writing those 2 awful reviews.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. Fun at parties. But some of the reviews, you can, don't like it because of the that early part. That early part, it can polarize some people because she's very hyperactive in the first sort of 25-30% of the book. And I will say, if you don't like that bit, just persevere. Mm-hmm. There's a reason, because she's way over the top at the beginning. And I keep having to kind of reiterate this to people, that she's an unreliable narrator. She's not a historian recording history accurately. She's a 26-year-old woman who doesn't know what the hell's going on. The dead have risen. The world has collapsed around her in like days because panic kills more than the undead and just exacerbates the problem. And she's hiding out in the top floor of her own high school because she was just going to somewhere where everybody was going from, because she just didn't want to be around people. And she is basically crapping herself. And so the only way she deals with it is she finds some old school notebooks, starts writing them in it to order her thoughts, keep herself amused. And her sense of humor is over the top in how she records it. She's an unreliable narrator because she's writing for herself, trying to keep herself amused on her head, because humor is how she deals with trauma. So she's just trying to keep her head straight. Now, as soon as she meets Nate, the whole thing changes, and she starts to calm down. She keeps that level of humor, and she even recalls later in the book going back, I must have seemed like I was on drugs when I was doing those early entries. And she's self-aware enough of it. But I think that early part of the book, some people have just gone, nope, I'm not reading it. I've got to 13% in the Kindle. This is stupid. Oh, I've only listened to 3 hours of the audio. This is ridiculous. And you're like, you don't finish the book, shut up.
Yeah, you shouldn't really write a review.
If you don't like it when you finished it, fine, that's fine. We can like different things, but
I hate it when
if you're going to shoot it down without finishing it and seeing how it develops, I'm just going to ignore that.
Yeah.
Some people just want to watch the world burn, and you're always going to get bad review. You're always going to get somebody who gives you a bad review.
Yeah,
I think I'm quite fortunate. I'm quite fortunate that I've only got 2 or 3 bad reviews across all formats, Audible, and there's like nearly 500 reviews, ratings and reviews across the Audible trilogy, and 97% of them are 4 and 5 star. So I'm okay with that.
What about yours, Richard?
I mean, I just say I've only had like maybe 1 or 2 bad reviews, and they were 3 stars even. But what pissed me off was, especially with one review, that she got everything wrong. She's talking about stuff in the story, but had it all wrong. Like, well, why did this character say this? It wasn't this character. It's this character that said that. The other character.
Oh, those are my favorite ones.
Yeah, get your fucking facts straight. If you can, get your fucking
facts. Those are my favorite ones. Yeah, those ones I can't help but to map at it.
Yeah.
But on the whole, people have been very, very kind to it, and I'm very grateful for the people who've done it, and the people who like it really like it. So I'm not going to complain. It's been a great experience. It's been a great experience, and hopefully, who knows what the future brings, but that's a numbers game at the end of the day. It hasn't been picked up as much as obviously the original AUD, and that was another reason where we were hoping that the crossover might lead people to go, oh, what's this? What's this? I don't know anything about this. I'm going to go back and see this. I seem to have missed a chunk somewhere. So we'll see how that goes. That'll take a bit of time to come out in the wash, I think.
Well, see, timing was great for me because I had just finished off AUD at that time, and your book was out. So I'm like, well, if this is part of the universe, since I got to wait for the next Adrian, I went ahead and picked up your book, and I loved it right away. It was a little odd. I mean, for an American, it was a little odd
It will be the language.
Your lead girl there. But I had also just finished. I think I finished one of Ricky Fleet's books, and so I'd already gotten used to it. I'm like, okay, I can do this, and then I just fell in love with it. So I was waiting for the next book, and I jumped on it on day one. Same with the third. So,
did you do it in audio or in print?
Yours are all on Audible. Because
Danielle, she does a great job.
Yep, you got that good. You got that good ass narrator. Yep.
Well,
narrators. Go ahead, Richard.
Let me ask you this, Carl. Now, where I'm at right now, just finished 9, with this impending crossover coming up. Would it behoove me to go back and listen to yours first before continuing on the main series?
You can kind of, as long as you've kind of done them before you get to 13, you'll be all right. Because, like I say, it runs in parallel with while Adrian's having his adventures in the US in sort of 2010, 2011. Erin's runs is really just the first year of the apocalypse. So it's like, June 2010, and it finishes in the sort of March, April of 2011 across the 3-book arc. So there's still, the original arc, if you like, where Adrian and Cassie in the first arc, which doesn't finish until March 2012, is still ongoing. So it's a parallel story happening on the other side of the water.
Yeah, I mean, really, I guess the way I would say
it's only really the context for book 13, so you know who she is.
Oh, yeah, look who's waiting. Carl is old and talks funny.
Yes, he does.
I can say the same about you. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Shots fired.
You both talk funny.
You're all colonials. You all came from here at some point. I talk proper like what I does.
Shit, me and Richard, we talk like this right here. Damn it, we make sure y'all understand what we got to say.
Yeah, same here.
I'm heckling.
You wouldn't be you, Chris, if you weren't heckling me. I expected him. Quite frankly, I'm amazed it's taken him so long.
Good picture there, Chris, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. It fits him so perfectly.
What he's pointing in that picture, though.
All right, Carl, I got a question for you. Oh.
Thanks, Chris. Ever supportive. What's your question, Dan?
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this.
That's not ominous at all.
Well, no, it's a good thing. I'm just curious. Okay, so you're writing a story that you've created, but you're writing it in somebody else's universe. How did you think this through? I mean, you had to have a little bit of intimidation because you have rules to follow, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why Chris's name is on the front as editing. So the editing was Chris passing his eyes over it to go make sure that it's not going to conflict with anything he's writing in the future. That I'm not going to take any liberties. The other side to it is that yes, it probably is intimidating in some way because it's a lot of responsibility because you're taking this beloved series and sandbox and trying to carve your own little piece of it
without pissing off the fans.
But at the same time, it's in the UK and it's away from Adrian. So as long as I kept to the spirit of AUD, it was the same format. You've got the journal entries and you've got the side fiction sort of short stories interspersed in between that give the reader a wider view of what's going on that Erin can't see in her journal entries, and it also gives you an opportunity for you to see how Erin looks to other people through their eyes rather than her just self-deprecating all the time and calling herself a dickhead. You get to see that other people think actually she's quite impressive. But I think it helped because I was such an avid fan of the original books. I knew what Chris was going for, and I had respect for the source material. So I was never just going to come in all elbows and knees and just go, bang, I'll do what I want.
No, here we go.
There goes the show.
Went sideways.
Man of the hour.
I'm
What's
not
going
prepared
on,
for
my
this.
dude?
I'm well, thank you. We're having a Friendsgiving with friends today. What's up?
Cool.
Yeah,
Well,
we're
we're
just
talking.
here.
Just
talking
talking,
about
talking to
your
Carl.
books.
Yeah,
Talking
talking
about
about you. Oh, speaking of which, because we haven't
One
given
at a time. One at a time.
we haven't given a shout out to this gem right here so far. So let's make sure we do not forget that Chris is currently working on the Diggory Pinch series, which the first 2 books are out. They are on Audible, and oh my God, they are good. So good. Get this. Get this. Not kidding. It's delicious stuff. So now, Chris, when you first read Carl's submission for the Loki series idea, what was your legit reaction? He's been telling us his version of your reaction. What's your version?
Well, it took me like 5 or 6 minutes to read the handwriting in crayon. But after that, I was really impressed. We were doing the anthology, and he basically just was like, "Hey, so I got this thing." And, you know, Carl's been a supporter for a long time and has, you know, been very vocal on Patreon and the groups and stuff like that. So, you know, I was going to read it no matter what. And I read it and was like, this is really good. Like this is legitimately really quite good. And I forget how we jumped from the short story to the fact that you had like an entire novel written, but it was like, yeah, that's totally going to go in the anthology. It's fantastic. And then Carl was basically like, oops, I wrote a novel. And
My bad.
Like,
Whoopsie.
can I read that too, Carl? Can I read that too? And, you know, here we are 3 books later. So,
which has all been showing. I got them.
And they're really, really good. Like, just really good.
Now, there's only been a few times when I've been reading books or listening to an audiobook that I've actually cheered out loud when something happened. Once was in a Mark II faux book, and well, here we go.
I think
froze. Oh, I thought he was making some weird point.
We're visiting friends, and I went off into the backyard like a weirdo. And all the kids are here, and my wife just threw a balsa wood airplane at me, and of course I had to return fire. I can't let that happen unanswered. Homie, don't play that.
But yeah, when Lockie and Adrian met, and I was anticipating, and I was waiting for it, begging for it, and really,
now the children are throwing stuff. Get out of here! Get out of here! Don't be throwing no Thanksgiving. Oh, direct hit. I just hit with a pumpkin.
Oh. he must have ordered 20. Speaking of which, Chris also makes these fine Dungeons and dice. Dungeons and Dragons dice.
I do. I have a set cooking right now. Did Mommy send you out here to heckle me?
Jack is frozen again.
I deserve that.
He looks really pissed by it as well.
The dice are fun. They're cool. Yeah, so this is my life today.
That's what's up, man.
What's going on, Angel?
Yeah, nothing much, man. Just I'm in front of your Dungeons and Dragons dice that you did such a good job with.
Thank you.
You're still cooking them up?
I am, yeah. I get the group that, you know, people are part of that.
Oh yeah,
I'm calling the stuff that I'm making, and I haven't posted that much because I just have like commissions for the holidays. So
yeah,
you know, like everyone's like a month ahead, being like, "Hey, can you make a set of dice for my son?" Yes, I can. But then I don't want to post pictures of the stuff that I make for anybody until the person getting it sees it, because like it would be kind of crappy for everyone else in the world to know what they were getting.
Yeah, but it's but these are so masterfully done, man. These are wonderful. Yeah, you did a fine job with them.
Yeah, mine are over there somewhere.
I like your term of cooking them. Makes you guys sound like meth heads. Hey, you got something cooking?
I'm up late at night. I'm like stirring. I got these little cups of colors and putting in drops of stuff and sprinkling glitter like cocaine in an alley. And then in the end, just little nerdy squares with numbers on them pop out.
Little nerdy squares, you know.
That's where I'm at in life, though, in general. But
that's not bad.
What have you guys asked Carl so far? How embarrassed has he gotten?
Oh, so far he's actually been a top-notch guest, man. He has just been on it. He's been one of those, what I refer to as an easy interview. Just like throw it out there, let him run.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been handling it like a pro.
Yeah, he's been good. I've enjoyed my time with him.
Like I said at the first of the show, this is one of the first times in a while that I've actually been nervous going into one because I've become such a big fan.
Oh.
And I froze again.
Bless him.
He's
gone frozen again.
Yeah,
he gets most to get a sentence out.
So nervous he can't move.
Yeah, he's my set in stone.
So we've all had dates like that. So
yeah,
but it is what it is. I see Richard over there sitting on a couch. You don't look anything like a serial killer at all right now. That looks good. Everyone's looking good today.
I'm at the new Rose Estate. This is my new house in Tennessee here.
Yay!
He's back in God's country.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I don't know about that, Jack, but all right. Shots fired. Yeah.
So now, Chris,
yeah.
Obviously, Carl has told us that there's going to be a fourth, and he's working on a fifth. Are there any?
No, I've written it. I've not. There is going to be. There's a very big difference, Jack. Stop leading it. Stop leading the conversation.
I see 3 faces on this screen right now. They're already saying, "No, it's going to happen," and we're flying our asses to the UK and making it happen. Just saying. But my question is,
need to buy the first 3.
Shit. Fuck this thing.
It's not cheap.
Jack having an ID10TR.
Yeah, he's just like
you've come on and just stolen all his bandwidth.
He's so well disciplined right now. He's not even flinching.
Barely handle 5.
Yeah,
6
man.
is too many.
It's too many for Jack.
Yep, I froze again for about the 12th or 13th time. This is why we're switching to Zoom. So StreamYard, if y'all are paying attention,
Yeah, so the Carl's first 3 have sold and done pretty well and have gotten fantastic reviews. But at the end of the day, like Danielle, his narrator, is really expensive and she's fantastic and she's worth it. But in order for us to like really be able to greenlight more, and I would love to, is we just need to make sure that it's going to at least break even. And I think we're probably there. The release of book 13 of AUD has definitely spiked Carl's sales a bit. Yeah, what?
Yeah. Seems to have been
a
few more on my author
It's cold out. That's why I keep yelling at you to put a jacket on.
It's definitely having an effect.
Yeah.
But we always knew it was going to take time to get momentum anyway. You know, it needed people to... Word of mouth is the best thing in the world. You know, if more of the AUD community going, read this, it's great. And those who might have missed it, pick it up.
Yeah. I think we'll get there. I'm confident. I am. It's just a question of like timing and just making sure that, you know, we're flooding the market and seeing what Danielle's availability is and just making sure that we can, you know, make it feasible, make it reasonable. And I'm sure it'll be good. Carl's writing it and I have full confidence in him. You know, and yeah, hopefully soon.
All right, cool. Sounds
I think
great.
one of the best things about it is the fact, like Carl had mentioned earlier, you two guys, your minds are eerily similar. Like, y'all kind of think a lot.
Best way of putting it.
Yeah, one of the big things.
I'd say me and Dan are a good example of that. Wait a minute.
One of the big things that I read in Carl's work when he sent the submission in was like the way he wrote was very similar to how I write. So I felt like the story itself was interesting enough and unique enough, and the characters stood on their own and it had plenty of its own character. But it also felt like it was written to align with everything else that I've written. So it didn't feel like it would be a stretch style-wise.
I think I'm back.
Anybody. So, and that I think helps.
And it was unintentional. I think it's just we do have a very similar way of approaching writing. I mean, the discussions that we've had, even to the point of the way we write. Chris calls them islands when he writes, and I call them checkpoints. You know, we're neither of us are complete plotters, but you'll have 3 or 4 points in the story which are major plot shifts or major character shifts, and then everything in between, you just fly by the seat of your pants and write and see where it goes.
Yeah,
and it was quite interesting when we were having a conversation. It was like it's exactly the same manner of writing. We just have different names for it.
Yeah,
you're basically your islands in a stream. Islands in a stream.
That is what we are.
Nothing in between.
Nothing in between.
I'm more
Right, well,
that's where the creativity comes in. That nothing in between, right?
Like, how can you go wrong?
Well, this brings up
some of your best stuff, though. I find comes when you haven't got a plan.
Yeah,
you're just writing and going, I'm going to see where this goes. And it's probably some of the best stuff that I've written has just been off the cuff because I just thought, oh, let's see what happens if she goes here.
Well, it's unfettered by expectation, right? So you're not you're not trying to achieve a specific thing. You're just writing in the moment what's entertaining for you and what seems fun. So like it's just like free form, it's like stream of consciousness stuff that allows you to just live and be silly and crazy and wacky and that's where like
pure creativity.
Yeah. I would say that's where like 75% of my humor shows up. Like the scripted stuff is usually the more serious things. Like considerable moments in the story where reveals happen or certain fight scenes happen or emotional pivot points or whatever. Everything else is just fun stuff leading up to that. But yeah, it lends me the freedom to be creative and also keeps me honest and makes sure that I hit the beats that I need to hit. So
all right, I got a question. I was going to ask you this, Carl. It was part 2, but since I have both of you here, how did you guys plan the meeting of your 2 main characters?
Math? No, meth.
Oh, meth.
Yeah.
Funny, that made more sense.
The quintessential American experience. I knew that, going before Carl even wrote Lockie, I knew that the Adrian story was going to move towards Europe anyway. And then when his stuff showed up, it was like a bolt from, the heavens above, like, hey, wait a minute. This is like fantastic foreshadowing and allows me to build, the other half of the world in canon in a fantastic way, written by someone who's there. So it's very authentic. And I knew, at least I forget exactly what I said to you, Carl, but I know that I had always said, well, hey, one of these days it would be really cool if we could like get these stories to line up. And then he finished his series.
You phrased it was we'd be doing the whole world a disservice if we didn't cross them over.
Right.
I think it was that
it would
phrase.
have pissed me off.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So,
and you were right. You would have been doing us a disservice had you not had these characters cross paths.
Right. And then when I started writing, I think it was 12, I knew the rough arc. And what's interesting is going back as far as book, 3 or 4 in the core series, there are scenes that take place in Manchester, which is right near Lockie. And I picked that place for no discernible reason that I can remember, but it just so happens that Lockie is in the vicinity of Manchester, relatively speaking. And it made sense that like, hey, I could have them go back. I could have, there's plenty of reasons they had friends and family there. So I introduced that into the story when Adrian takes his group across the ocean. And then once I got them to England and figured out like, okay, this is what the tempo of things are. How are they going to get there? Then I was like, all right, hey, Carl, where are we at in 2 years? Where do you think Lockie's at? And he, just kind of set the stage for, where she and her whole camp was. And it's like, all right, now how can I get this dumb bastard up there? And it just kind of came together. Carl had the insight of like local reasons why people would want to go certain places. And I just had to like adjust my storyline to land in his lap or her lap, as the case may be. And basically was like, all right, here's what I'm envisioning. Do you think you could write a story from Lockie's perspective of this moment? And he was like, yeah, I think I could do that. And I think he busted it out in like, I don't know, 4 or 5 days. And then we
you said no rush, and I was like, yeah, but I've got an idea now. Yeah, read this.
Yeah, get it out quick.
Before I wrote it, though, we did have a text conversation back and forth of like, envision, how's he coming? He's going to be coming by the choppers, blah blah blah. And don't want to give any major spoilers away for those who haven't seen it, but when those choppers first approach and the reaction of the undead was something that we were bouncing around between. It's really, writing's a very lonely process often, and it's actually a lot of the fun was Chris and I just throwing ideas back and forth. What about this? What about this? This could happen. And what about this? And that gives you a big buzz. Just being able to actually talk about it, throw ideas out there.
Well, I know Carl and we both have like a heavy role playing history, and that concept, that idea of like collaborative storytelling, where you sit around a table and you say, okay, what's the setting? All right, here's my character. How would they react? What are different potential ways this could plan out, or pan out? And once, a creative person like me gets with someone who's even a little bit creative like that, and I can start bouncing ideas and spitballing, it's just like, it just grows so fast and turns into like a very tangible plan. And then he wrote it really quickly. So then I had a bedrock to build towards. Carl had wrote me my island, so to speak. And then it was just executing it. And what's really fun about the way that we did it in the book is that, the first meeting of the two of them is told from Carl's perspective, from Loki's perspective. And she sees, a version of him and of them. And they're like more with what's going on than Adrian and his crew are. And they have certain insights before Adrian does, and they're like picking apart the group of people in terms of like reading them, because they're outsiders. They see the dynamics differently than the people in the group. So through their eyes, you see a reflection of the group that Adrian isn't able to see. And then that story ends, and then Adrian describes the thing, the meeting from his perspective, and you get to see both groups kind of line up, and you get to see how they feel about each other. And initially, Adrian thinks Loki's like, a crackhead. He thinks she's crazy and she's and he doesn't get it. And then, he reflects on it for a little while and then sees her interacting with people, and then he starts to get it. And he, realizes that he pretty grossly underestimated her initially. And it's just really cool to reflect the two of them off of each other, because they're on very similar paths, but they have tackled it differently enough that they can learn from each other. And, whenever you can have your main character meet someone who can, hold up a mirror and like really allow them to grow, that's like a really, really fun thing as a writer.
Well, now, since we've got you here for a minute, give everybody a little info into the Diggory Finch series, because, man, that's some good stuff right there.
Thanks. It's modern cosmic horror. So if anyone's ever read anything Lovecraftian, or, August Derleth or stuff like that, it's basically, cults and ancient rites and old gods and all that jazz, as, the broad strokes. And then Diggory is a guy growing up in New England, and he lives in Boston. He's kind of a do-nothing, go-nowhere guy who, doesn't really have any aim, and he's dealing with some mental health issues. And he finds out that his grandma, who he doesn't really talk to, passed away and left him the family house, which is in rural New Hampshire, Vermont on the border, which if you've ever been there, there's nothing. It's like old mill towns that have been run down for 200 years. And he's like, all right, this is it. This is my chance. I'm going to get a free house. I'm going to get out of the city. I'm going to restart my life. I'm going to reboot. And I think he's like 30, 32, something like that. But when he gets there, he realizes that grandma was rich, like real rich, and she hid it from the family, or his dad hid it from the family. And then he finds out stuff about his family that doesn't line up with the things that his dad told him. So he starts to realize that his dad has been like keeping a lot of secrets. And further, everybody in the town starts treating him like he's royalty, and he can't figure out why. So the first book is him kind of pulling at the strings of what's going on in this town and finding out like what's going on with his family. Why did his family have all this money? Why is everyone treating him really good? And you start to realize that there's like this massive network of, evil conspiracies, and he has essentially found himself in the middle of a spider web that he and his family may have made for themselves. And he's got to figure that out.
Dude, I'm telling you, the way you tell this story, it's a very dark story, first off, but you work the humor in a lot, like with AUD. You get the humor in there where it needs to be, so it doesn't become like where it drags you down. It's like, no, we're going to keep this thing on the up. We're going to be fun. We're going to have a good time with this, but we're also going to freak you the hell out. And
it's kind of like me. Like I react to the most horrifying things with humor, right? Like I just, you know, like, oh, you broke your leg. Oh, bummer. You know, think of the wear and tear you're going to save on that other shoe. You know, like that's just the way I am. So I try and roll with that gallows humor and just like live in the moment and just accept that stuff's crazy and evil and awful. And like, you can either go crazy and go evil, or you can laugh at it and protect yourself with this armor made out of, you know, humor. And that's Diggory. He tries to take as little seriously as possible, and he struggles to take things seriously, and he like vastly overestimates his abilities because he's arrogant in some ways, and he, you know, underestimates the threats of the things around him and overestimates threats, and he's all over the place. Like he's kind of a shit show, and that's kind of what makes him endearing. And also makes him frustrating because it's like, dude, why the fuck are you doing that? You know, like, did you not listen to yourself talk a couple of minutes ago? But that's him. Like, he just doesn't quite grasp it. And that's, you know, part of his mental health issues from the story too. So,
well, I think that's, you know, for a lot of us, that's actually really relatable because we're all notorious for that. We know we shouldn't buy this certain thing because it don't fit in the budget. We do it anyway. I shouldn't say this to this certain person because they're going to go to HR with it, but we say it anyway.
Right.
And, you know, there's a lot of that. And that's one of the things that endeared me to this new series of yours is I could relate to it. I dug the character. I could see myself being in that role. Like, yep, that would be my dumbass running around trying to fight cosmic demons and have no idea what I'm doing or why I'm here. You know?
Just leave. Just leave.
Get out.
No, he thinks he's safer by staying there, and, you know, we'll see if that's the right play.
Well, now, I'm not going to, with, you know, no spoilers on what I'm about to go to, but I'm jumping into book 2 a little bit. Your main baddie in book 2, dude, where did that come from? That is such a cool, crazy, freaky
Thank you.
thing, man.
Yeah, so he's loosely inspired by a Lovecraftian baddie that I wanted to put my own spin on. And obviously I made him really weird and gave him enough uniqueness that, you know, he's my creation, but he, you know, he has roots in old stuff. Ooh, cake.
Ooh, cake.
Oh, yum, yum, yum.
He has his roots in cake.
I am unvarnished. No fork, though.
No. You don't need fork for cake. That's what your fingers are for. But I mean, that's one of the things that I really enjoyed about those books is there's a slow burn feel to them. But when you start the action, when it's time to get to brass tacks and, you know, finish book 1, then get into the end of book 2, man, it hits like a hardcore action movie, like just I think big time.
That is part of my writing style, like unconsciously. Like I tend to write the first 2 acts of books slower and like building up and then setting the stage. And then I feel like once the way I write books, I feel like there's a tipping point where it's like, you know, everything galvanizes enough for something to take action. And then it's just like a race to the finish. And the last, you know, third of my books is just like this helter-skelter, you know, just trying to resolve the chaos of, you know, whatever's going on. And I think that's me. Like, I think that's actually my style. But I do notice that like I tend to write that way, and you know, it's working so far. So whatever.
No, that's what I pointed out in previous shows before. There are certain authors, you included, Carl included. If you were to hand me an audiobook or just a paperback, and I start reading it, but there's no name on the cover, there's no title on the cover, I'm just reading this random work, I could tell if it's a Chris Philbrook or not. I could tell if it's a Carl Meadows. I could tell if it's Mark Tufo. I can just tell because there's a sound, and it just you've got a great voice. You've got a great voice, man. You and Carl both do. Your voices are amazing.
Well, now we just got to get Carl to write all those other book ideas that he has.
Mm-hmm.
Give him a week.
Exactly.
Really, allegedly, he's working on some fantasy stuff, and allegedly,
we were discussing that earlier.
It's
and
probably going to be 7. So
somebody put his feet to the fire. Write that shit.
I guess story. Well,
me and Dan can do
this
that.
This year's a bit of a write-off, so I'm trying to get back into the swing of things in 23.
You got it. You'll do it. All right, I got to go. My hands are cold. I'm ignoring my family to talk to you idiots.
I know. Go ahead.
Here, though.
He's got cake as well. He's got
real quick.
Yeah.
Richard sends his apologies. He had to go catch a flight, so he had to go. But he sends this to you, Chris.
Yep. See, he had to do the serial killer stuff. It's okay. Yeah. It's all good.
The flight he's getting is to New Hampshire, and you're going to find him outside your house in a few hours' time.
Seriously.
Waiting for you when you get home.
No.
It's all right. It's okay.
Don't worry. He will bundle you up real well before he sticks you in the trunk. It'll be okay.
Yeah, he's gonna roll up with a wheelbarrow filled with lotion. Richard,
we'll put the lotion in the basket.
Right. Yeah. All right, guys. Have a good show. Carl, take good care of him.
Man, thanks for popping in, brother.
Chris. Take care,
guys.
Take care, man.
Carl Edwards, Chris.
Finally, back to the real star, Carl.
Yes. We had to have that other schlub on with us for a little while.
The thing is, though, I've got all the time in the world for Chris. He's a good dude, and he let me play in his sandbox. It's no small thing to let somebody, especially because I was a completely unknown, and to just come in and go, yeah, man, write 3 books in my series. I like this. I think my readers will dig it. It's that's quite a lot of faith to be shown. So
that's the first time I've ever.
He wants to come in and talk about cake. He can come in and talk about cake.
Right. I was just surprised. He's all like, "Who's that fucking dungeon guy over there?"
They let anybody in these days.
Pretty much.
What I keep telling Jack is because they're all like, "Why do we start trouble?" I'm like, "You fuckers let me here. Deal with it.
It's your fault."
You see, there's a lot of blame pushed back and forth across the table around here. Like I said, I tell everybody all the time, if y'all could just be a fly on the wall and watch the private chat between me, Dungeondan, Jeff Thompson, Jennifer Amato, and now why she thought it was a good idea, D. Cooper, in our little private chat, you would have to just wash your eyes constantly.
Good job. There's no HR department, yeah?
No.
You would be.
They left. They packed up. I'm pretty sure Dee's quiet because she's just in a corner and fetal position, shaking her head. Jack says some really weird shit. I'm telling you.
Hey, whoa, mister. Crazy bastard. Anyway, guys, we have gone well over, and honestly, I could sit and talk to Carl for the rest of the freaking day, but I need to let this man get on with his life because it's a lot later over there than it is over here right now. And besides, if we keep him on the show, then he can't write, and if he can't write, then we don't get books.
Enjoy, right?
So it creates a problem. So we're gonna wrap this bad boy up. And first off, again, Carl, thank you so much for doing this today, man. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Been good fun. Been good fun.
I have loved it. So, like I do every single week. Well, Richard's already gone, but you can find him on Amazon, Goodreads, Kindle. Wild Eyed Southern Boys is out there. The prequel is out there. Cold Dead War is coming soon. So be ready for that. That's when you'll get to meet Evil Jack, the Bear Baron. So that's going to be fun. So, since the only actual published author we have that's a host on the show is Angel Ramon, my liege, where can everybody find you?
Just find me on Amazon. On Angel, you can look up Angel Ramon for my zombie books, or Anxious Maximus for my mid-RPG historical fiction books. You can join me on the Legionnaires of Anxious Maximus. We do a podcast every 2 Saturdays where we talk about history, Roman history, and all that good stuff. And I do have a Patreon where I am posting updated chapters of my current story that I'm working on. And I'm also putting up the open call for people that want to write in the King Meadows universe that Jack is going to be doing as well. So I look forward to reading what you might have come up, Jack.
I got some ideas.
All right. So that's all, folks, for now.
All right. Well, Carl, where can everybody find you, my man?
All the places you'd expect to find someone like me. I'm on Facebook,
Bathhouse,
on Amazon, hanging out in very, very strange bars. I'm on Goodreads, and you can also, I'm quite active if you go into Chris's fan group, the Ring Family, as that's quite growing. I'm usually in there as well, interacting with everybody.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, it's a good community. That.
Go get in that for sure. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, the Ring family on Facebook. Go join that, man.
That's where I started out before all this journey came up. So that's the place to be, and you can follow both me and Chris in there as well, and interact with us quite regularly.
Fantastic, and to think, first you started off with his emailed stories, then you got to write your own books, and then you got to do a show with Dungeondan Uebel.
I know. I've peaked.
Your life is
it's all down from here.
You hit it up there on the high note.
There's nothing left for me to achieve now. That's it. I'm at the
might as well just hang out
of my lifetime.
In fact, I kind of wonder about that. That's with England only being like so big. I wonder how far you do live away from our good friend Ricky.
A long way away, judging by Ricky's accent. He's very much from the south, and I'm very much from the northwest.
May have to get our investigators on this one, see if we can get us a meet and greet together, a little collab action or something.
All right.
All right. Well, Dungeondan, I want you to do something for me, bud.
What do you want?
Since you haven't started writing yet, I'm kind of piddling with it. Shout out a certain series by a certain friend of ours, if you would.
Well, that would be Epic Mayhem from Jeff Thompson, who also put out that awesome zombie series, Guardian of the Apocalypse.
Somebody may have heard of it. It's all over there.
It's the first time I've ever read zombies from a puddle pirate.
He's going to see this, right?
Surprise, the chat line has it sprung right up.
He's seeping.
He's got 2 books out, third one coming, and it is literally, it's the title.
It's mayhem.
Murders and kills everybody senselessly. It's awesome.
It's good stuff. And the beauty of it is he is using real people that say, I want in. And he's like, okay.
I was about to say, Carl, he's looking for victims. You want in?
I'm not sure. I'm actually okay with the idea of being brutally murdered in a book.
Sometimes it's fun.
It is.
No, you lot all kind of going like, yeah, man, kill me.
Look,
is a little weird.
I'm going to give you one good example of a really cool one that he did. A character gets killed and blood sprays from their body. And there's just this one person just walking by on the sidewalk. They're not involved in what's happening. They're just going by. The blood hits them in the face, temporarily blinds them. They step out into the street and get hit by a bus and ran down the road.
It's like the zombie kill of the week from Zombieland, isn't it?
More or less.
Piano falling on your head, building collapsing on you.
Yeah, it is absolutely insane. Oh, and I get to be a ghost in that one, by the way.
I'm the ghost in this one.
I'm the very first dead body.
Jackson.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know before I started reading it, but it's okay. His character's actually funny.
Yeah, and he's lying. He's already said that I'm his favorite character. So, blah.
Call me out.
Okay. For Carl Meadows, for Dungeondan Uebel, for Angel Ramon, Richard Ryan Rose, who's catching a flight supposedly to New Hampshire, but we don't know for sure. For Jen Amata, who didn't make the show this week, this has been the Written Undead podcast. We'll see you guys next week. Peace and chicken grease.